This one or the other one?
Hello and welcome to Follow Everton here. I'm Ryan. This is the match reaction for Manchester United 2, Everton 0. Just going to give you my very quick thoughts because you will have a full in-depth match reaction from the team here coming up in a few moments' time. We have Chris, Jan and Basil about to come on in a few moments' time. Just want to give my initial thoughts. A completely underwhelming performance from Everton today. Jordan Pickford having to make what felt like 20 to 30 saves. I look like I've been dragged through a hedge. Very stressful match. And Man United outclassed us in every single department of the pitch. 1-11, apart from in goal where Jordan Pickford was outstanding. And it's a really, really big defeat for Everton in terms of the mental here today, because I think we're on such a good run, unbeaten, and then we go and we give Man United two of the cheapest goals you'll ever see. Onana failing to pick up the runner and McTominay in behind scores, simple, easy finish. And then you've got the Seamus Coleman one where he should just hit it away or keep the ball in front of him. Loses it, and then it's played across, and Martial, who else, our arch nemesis for year after year, slots home to make it 2-0. And Jordan Pickford didn't deserve to be on the losing team today because the amount of saves he made was ridiculous. But Everton were just so amateur across the pitch, failing to drop when United players had a lot of the time and space to play balls in behind, not getting tight enough to United players, not pressing, not harrying, not working as a unit in midfield. And then when we did get the ball, yes, we carried some threat, but United always were allowed to get players back into their shape, back into position. And defensively, United were so comfortable because they were able to get back quickly. And we almost wait for them to do so before we get numbers forward. So we were quite ineffective. I mean, Ellis Sims had a big chance. He scuffs it. There was another chance. Onana heads wide. There was a couple of half chances from the centre-backs from set pieces. But really, we didn't create an awful lot. And I felt like we did have to take those two chances. We did, in my opinion, we should have had a penalty for a Maguire foul on Demarai Gray. It was a clear obstruction, clear pullback. I'm sure the lads will go into this in a few moments. And really, if you get that penalty decision on Demarai Gray and if you get that goal from Sims, it's a different game. But I don't think we can sit here and say if buts and maybes, because ultimately we were completely outclassed. United must have had 30. How many shots did they have? Can someone in the comments say? It felt like 30 attempts. It's not acceptable at a Premier League level. And certainly what I was promised with Sean Dyche was compact defensively. But we make too many mistakes. And today we were far too open. I also don't know whether Ramadan is affecting the players' energy levels. Certainly that midfield pairing of Garner and Onana, who were quite poor in that first half and were second best at everything. We didn't win any of the midfield battle. As I say, we weren't close enough to United players. And I think maybe we're a little bit naive in the first half because we had a lot of players up front. I don't know whether the Ellis Sims experiment worked. The reason I say that is Sims was jogging around for most of the game, didn't really put a lot of effort in. I didn't feel like he busted a gut to make things happen and really got out of much of a sprint, a jog. So a bit disappointed with that. Yes, his hold-up play is good, but we needed a little bit more pressing from up front. We're just far too open. I'm just waiting for the lads to drop in. So when Jan wants to give me a thumbs up, I'll pass over to him and or bring him in and continue the stream. So in a moment, I'll do that. But yeah, that's my thoughts. United, better than us all over the pitch. We made it far too easy. We were sluggish. We were poor going forward, but we still somehow carried a threat, but our decision making was bad. One thing I really didn't like was when players like Garner would get forward and he was the pivot, he was the number 6, but then he'd make a bad decision, lose the ball, and United would counter on transition and ultimately get plenty of chances. One of their common routes was a long ball over the top to Godfrey, who was exposed quite a few times on there. And we did change it at half-time and put Mikolenko on, but he was a little bit, whilst he was tenacious and we were a little bit better defensively, we didn't concede anywhere near as many shots. It wasn't very productive. Can't think of whether there's anything else I particularly want to cover right now before the lads come in. But just a little bit gutted, a little bit devastated. I know we played a game more now. We need some teams to drop points today. We need some favours from some other teams. And I'm just looking in. I've got my 2 colleagues ready to come in now. I'm just waiting on the third one, Basil. But I don't know how you can be so open. I don't know how your defenders can be so passive. I don't know how you can have always someone like Michael Keane dropping, not knowing whether to engage or whether to drop off, not knowing whether to track runs. A lot of defensive mistakes, a lot of errors, a lot of unawareness, switching off, not pressing, not closing down. And on that bombshell, I'm going to hand over to my esteemed colleagues, Jan and Chris. Guys, take care, and I'll leave you to it.
Feel better.
Thanks.
Hello.
Greetings, all. Greetings, Jan. Greetings to the chats. And I don't really know what to say. Happy birthday, Mabsy. Let's get that out of the way. Big shout out. Sorry your party was so lame. But
he was there today, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. And I can't imagine that he's in good spirits at the moment.
Well, he'll be wallowing in spirits later on.
Yeah, I think that ship has probably sailed, if I had to guess. So he's probably knee deep in ale at the minute. I don't know what to say. Obviously, we have a couple of disagreements as we have a private group chat, and Jan and I have been going back and forth a little bit in that. Oh, with all due respect, obviously, nothing ever. But I don't understand. I don't. What'd you say?
Nothing.
No, listen. I was a big proponent of the. Let's not swear on stream as much as of a couple of weeks ago. But honestly, I'm fucking mad right now. I'm pissed off. I don't understand how I don't like the argument being thrown at me of, well, I don't know what you really expected, or like, what did I expected us to show up. I expected us to get off the coach. I expected us to play at all against the side that, for all intents and purposes, had been somewhat mediocre and pedestrian lately. I get where they are on the table. I really do. And I get the quality that United bring. I also understand that they have a couple of injuries and they've been struggling lately, especially in the side of scoring goals. And that's what makes me so upset. This was worse than either half that we played at Anfield. This was the worst performance of the season by far, in my opinion. And it's got me frustrated because I expected them to show up. No, I didn't expect to win this game. Expectation is the wrong word to use when hoping for a draw, but I was hoping for a draw. I thought I'd be okay with that. I did not expect to give up 21 shots in the first half. And I certainly didn't expect, the score line aside, whatever. That could have easily been 7 or 8. And that's what I didn't expect.
So what my point of disagreement is not, oh, look how good United are, therefore we're going to play terribly. It was that a lot of our mistakes, okay, there were mistakes, and I'm happy to go through them, but I don't think it was so much us playing poorly. Well, I'm not happy to go through them, but, for the sake of the viewers, thank you for joining us. Like, subscribe, smash the notification button, all that kind of stuff. Anything but rip certain fascias off the side of Goodison Park. I'm not.
Sorry, let me. The Blues. I apologize. No, not of this. Under Sean Dyche. That's what I meant to say. Let me correct myself. That's the worst performance under Sean Dyche. That's what I meant.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's or Ellis Sims is also an anagram of ill misses. Or anyway. Anyway. Okay, I think that Everton didn't show up as well. They tried to play a more attacking style of football. We played a very high line, and we were caught out by United being very quick, very decisive, very joined up. They were very aware, and we got caught out the number of times we're playing passes, and it's a combination of. I think it was right to bring Onana off, but I would have kept Garner Gay on and brought potentially Iwobi off, because although he offers something, there were times when his passing was just a yard off, and we'd surrender possession. And obviously, we're going to do what we did last time. The last time we won or won against United. The Anthony Gordon goal this time last year, we were only had possession for 33%, and and our passing accuracy was 66%. So it's so frustrating that that we try and play a more attacking style of football, and yet we could see that Godfrey's got the pace, but when you combine that high line with us sitting back and then allowing and pushing off and covering the space and the lines, you're just allowing the United players to come and overlap you, and then to be stood there going, oh, what's happened? And it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating to see us miss a few chances. We needed to be on top form 100%. And well, Jeff is saying that my word, we tried something different because Doucoure being out and it didn't work. Let's have a meltdown and rip the players.
No, stop with that. Hold on a second. There's a difference between ripping the players and pointing out when players are playing like trash. There's a whole different. I understand that we tried something different and it didn't work, and I'm fully on board with not like the season's not over. I'm not having a full meltdown, but when it's a bad performance, it's okay to say they had a bad performance. That's not criminal. It isn't. And I agree with you in the sense that Iwobi should have come off instead of Ghana Gay. I was also okay with it, though, because Ghana, to me, hadn't had a great game anyway. But Iwobi, at that point, was a liability.
Yeah, and it could be the cumulative effect of well, I don't really know. I'm just looking at it on the match and seeing the number of times that they played incisive passes and we just defended the gaps and the channels and the spaces. And yeah, Lila says quite rightly. So what I was leading to is that we should have been, Ramadan. We should have been 1-0 up. So Ellis Sims had a great chance and he scuffed it wide. Gray,
he was surprised he had so much space, I think.
Yeah, it should have easily been an outside of the foot shot curled into the far left corner inside. And it's frustrating. But like, I do want to point out what seems to be a bit annoying for me is, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I don't know if you've got a response to this, but we seem to be on the receiving end of some increasingly poor decisions. So as it wasn't bad refereeing, it was just pivotal moments. It became annoying and frustrating. Yeah. The Blues has pointed out we could have had a pen when Gray got dragged down by his arm. Absolutely. It wasn't just that. So the Blues here has just said this. Yeah. So I will get to that. But before that, there was a missed foul on Gray in the 15th minute. And there's also one where he gets taken out from behind. I mean, then we see that and we see maybe there's a turning point because United have been very on top. Okay, Lila doesn't think it was a penalty, but Gray was held by Maguire, and we've seen those given against us. We've seen those given in other games where there's contact, there's a push and a drag, and it's not just shoulder to shoulder, right? But yeah, okay, so maybe United would have still won the game, maybe as Leon says. But yeah, this is the point I'm saying. McTominay should have walked, though, because I've got it here. Oh, maybe I don't. I just gave up making notes in the second half. But
I did the same. I've got a full slate of first half notes, and after the 60-minute subs, I said I don't care anymore. I'm with you in the sense that I don't think it was extremely poor refereeing, but the frustration levels that's the part that sets in a little bit because we've had those calls go against us. But in no way, shape, or form am I blaming the officiating today.
But McTominay made 3 fouls that I said could have easily been yellow cards, and the fact that the first of them would have put him on a yellow card when he kneed Coleman, he bundled Coleman over, foul. He kneed him in the hip, in the bum. That's a foul. And then he kicked the ball at him and followed through on the ground. Same thing. That's a foul. Then a bit later, yellow card, clearly. And then
what I will say is that the no card was shown today. And I can't remember the last match I've watched where I haven't seen any bookings whatsoever. But I guess Michael Oliver wanted to let them play, or he spoke with his mate Ivan Toney and they put a bet in on no bookings and got pretty good odds on it.
Yeah, and he fouled Davies again later on in the game, but he also fouled against McNeil where he went through in the 74th minute. And it's so frustrating.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing, bud. We can't complain about things didn't go our way. United should have been out of sight, let's be honest. But they weren't out of sight. That's the thing. Yeah, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. It should have been 5 or 6-0, 4-0, whatever you want to say. But the fact is, it wasn't. And so at that point, playing on a yellow, especially with I hate their side is not depleted by any means, but given how they have to manage their minutes, they didn't exactly have a ton of subs to throw out. I'm not even. I don't know if Jeff's trying to wind me up or just.
I know. I don't know why.
I can't. Yeah, this is ridiculous.
Come on the stream, Jeffrey.
Yeah. Good luck. Better do it on your phone, by the way. I want to bring Basil in because he's patiently waiting here. So Basil's ripe and ready to go. Wow. Give me 1 second, Baz. I want to cover a couple of these comments that struck me. I think Eugene is spot on here. I think we're going to see Patterson next game, but we'll get to that towards the end of this because I want to just talk about the one we just watched. Wezo says, I think it was highlighted today. We're going to miss Doucoure. Yeah, I completely agree with that. What does Onana do with us? So obviously we found Ryan's second account on YouTube because that's him for sure. I don't disagree that Onana's performance today was lackluster. It really left a lot to offer. Having said that, my look of it is he might be injured now, and I'm very afraid of that because I do think he is, especially with Doucoure out. Onana's going to be a big blow if he misses out injured. Never thought I'd see a Dyche team so open at the back. Yeah, I have a lot to say about that. I'm very upset with how our defense played today. But Baz, immediate reaction. Obviously, we're all frustrated. What was your immediate takeaway?
Yeah, I don't think Everton really deserved to get anything from that game. I think United kind of bossed the game. I mean, we did have our chances and moments, but I think the moments weren't taken by ourselves. I think the critical one was Ellis Sims. That chance was a gilt-edged chance, basically a mirror image of the one he scored against Chelsea, but it got caught under his feet and then he scuffed it. But if he'd hit that in and we'd gone 1-0 up, I think there would have been promise for that, because then we wouldn't have needed to play such a high line and go aggressive as we were. We could have sat in and kept spaces narrow. But because we didn't score it, and then the United kept probing away, they got the goal. And then, from then on in, it's really hard work. And we did miss Leon,
and as you just say, we wouldn't have necessarily had to play that kind of press. But the most frustrating thing is the press was inconsistent. It was sporadic. And when you don't have that consistency, and especially when you get to the back, and you could see players picking up their responsibilities, okay, so Iwobi had covered a man inside, and then McNeil covers him, and then Organa pushes out, or Onana. I can understand that. But then when it gets to the channels, and you get fullbacks that allow to be overwhelmed, they don't go and challenge the ball because they're afraid that United are going to overlap, which shows like a deference to United's skill and ability. I mean, clearly they are the better team,
but we don't really have the players to do that sort of press, do we? I mean, it works some of the time. We win the ball high up and we do make chances, but what about the other 50% when United play down the sides and out, and then it's like the back four versus the United four, and it's like 1v1s, and we haven't got the pace, and we've got aging right back, we've got Godfrey out of position, we've got two slow centre backs, and they're completely isolated time and time after again, and we're asking Pickford to get us out of trouble so many times it was inevitable. And the ironic thing is that the goal didn't even come from that sort of issue. It was men behind the ball, and it was just a clever ball through, and Onana didn't track the runner.
I don't think it was a case of Onana. The most frustrating thing about that goal, though, is Pickford made all those saves and it went in at his near post.
Yeah, that was frustrating.
I think it was the power, wasn't it?
Oh, it's a good finish. Credit where credit's due. But it's one of those where, like you just said, I mean, Pickford makes the more difficult saves, and I don't want to call it an easy save by any means, but it's one that was the one that you expected him to actually make.
It's one that we discussed we discussed in the group chat where
the group chat, the pre-match, we talked about it all.
Week. But this is the point that the Blues makes here. We needed to see Iwobi in the middle of the field, playing less forward play and more control in the midfield, and holding it up, and the fancy footwork that he has going forward, or is capable of going forward. We needed that to hold the ball and to distribute it. Yeah,
it is true that Fernandes was left on his own to run the game, especially in that first half. No one was getting close to him, but I think in recent weeks they've switched him into that sort of deeper line midfield role, and it's much harder to pick him up. You'd expect someone like Ellis Sims, the striker, to be sitting on that deep line midfielder and trying to block his passing options. But United have got quality in all over the pitch. It's not like Martinez couldn't ping a ball over the top to Anthony, or one of the other midfielders, Sabitza's creative. It's not, you can't stop because they're fluid. Their touch is superb, and they move the ball quick and side to side where we don't have coverage because we're playing the narrow formation. It's a tough ask, isn't it, on that big Old Trafford pitch? The most frustrating thing for me is not that, it's that we've now got 8 games left, and I'm looking at the table with concern. That's what.
Well, I don't. I mean, it all. We have to take our games one at a time. And next week, in my opinion, I understand where Fulham are on the table, but I don't really care because Fulham are a struggling side, and they have Mitrovic out. There is no excuse whatsoever at Goodison to not get 3 points next week, and next week's going to be a very telling point of the season.
Well, this is, as Chris says, On larger fields, our lack of pace makes it harder to make an effective press. Now, Damari Gray posted earlier on his social media that he had a shot of coffee this morning because he's going to need it a big pitch at United. So the players are aware of this, right? And the amount of times that even Everton today, even we had plenty of space to move forward, and it was frustrating to see. I'm not going to single any player out for doing it because it was multiple times when we decided to not play that speculative, incisive pass forward to a man and cut out 2 United players, and we just played it back, and it was very frustrating. Like we had a throw in, on the United on our right wing high up, and then it goes back to defence and it goes out for a United throw the other side of the pitch, to sort of a third of the way inside the United half. It's frustrating. It's so frustrating. You know, we did have space at times, and then it was just incorrect placement of passes. Went down the side, and McNeil sort of ran it out when he could have easily taken a man on, or at least pressured to get a touch and and buy the throw in. And it becomes so frustrating, so frustrating. Anyway,
who are we getting feedback? Sorry, we're getting feedback on a microphone. I just didn't know if that was you, Jan, or Basil.
Oh, it's probably me chatting absolute rubbish.
Oh, fair enough. No, I doubt it. Anyway, no, it is. It's frustrating, and we already spoke of Iwobi. I don't want to harp on him too long, but there was so much wasted possession, and that really comes from everyone other than Jordan Pickford, because there were so many chances. Even when you get the ball back, you give it right away again. It's as frustrating as possible. It was just a complete lack of quality. I don't want to say it was lack of effort. I struggle to say that because of how well this team has performed in terms of efforts under Dyche lately. But today did look a bit of that. And like I said, Onana did look a bit injured. So you saw him kind of jogging around a little bit. You want to question how fit he actually is. Gana Gueye looked a bit slow. Everybody looked slow. And that's where I'll actually give you a little bit. So as we were talking about, United being good, I'll give that credit. United are a very fast team. And so they in turn make slower teams look even slower than they actually are. I'll give them that 100%. I still don't think it should have been as bad as it was today, defending shots, etc. But that's at least where some of the pace comes from.
But it seemed that so what did you think about the changes at and shortly after?
Okay, so I'll say regarding the halftime sub, that needed to happen because Ben Godfrey was not on the same planet as everybody else today. And I enough said, in my opinion. He just wasn't. Say what you will about him trying to get in the attack and getting caught back. In my opinion, if that is happening, that is the definition of bad defending because your defending is now poor as a result of what you're doing. But I'm going to get wound up if we start talking about that. Godfrey had to come off. It's one sub at halftime. Remind me exactly. There were 2 subs on 60 minutes. I want to say it was Davis and Garner for
Davis and Garner on for Onana and Gueye. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That was Onana was necessary. A Gana Gueye or Iwobi, you could have. I think Iwobi made more sense. I think Ghana it made sense. I don't think he was having a great game, but the role that Iwobi was playing at the time could have been suited better, and I think it held more responsibility at the time than Gana Gueye was. And I know Gana Gueye's been the linchpin, et cetera, et cetera. But the role that we needed from an attacking perspective, which was played by Iwobi, needed to be played by someone else at that point. So I think Iwobi should have come off at that point. And then at the end, when whoever it was, Mopé coming on, I think the game was already pretty much done at that point. Did he come on? I actually missed Mopé coming on. I don't know if he came on just before their second goal or right afterwards.
Yeah, I'd given up taking notes, and I was just before.
It was about 5 minutes before, and I think I don't want to say the players lost their heads and conceded, but it did feel a little bit like there was a bit of hopelessness in the fact we had no direction going forward, and then 2 minutes in, the goal goes in, and that's it. We may as well give up.
See, I can't get behind this because, again, we could have said that for the past 3 years, and we got a point at Old Trafford each of those 3 seasons. So I'm not getting behind this whole, we're going to a ground, so we might as well just assume we're going to get no points.
Yeah.
If you had changed the name of the team we were playing to Manchester City, you, Blue Nose, and everybody else in this chat, including you, Jeff, would be saying that we would have gotten run off the pitch by a world-class team, a world-class side still in the Champions League who spend billions of pounds and all this and are so much better than us. But we went to Man City. We went to the Etihad earlier this season and we drew 1-1. So I'm tired of seeing this whole, they're so much better. So I don't know what you guys actually expected. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but then to balance that out or to give that some perspective, Blue Nose just said that. Thanks for that, Blue Nose. And John Shaw's has said, which Everton players would make the Man United first team?
Just Pickford.
Yeah.
Tom Davis. No, I don't know, but you're missing the point. The fact you can't go into a game. Obviously, we're fans. You can go into it however you like. It's your perspective. I don't go into any game just assuming we're going to lose 5-0 or just being like, well, we don't belong here, so we might as well just give up.
But the point I'm trying to make is add some perspective. I'm not saying, we didn't expect to get anything. What I'm saying is a game of football is not just about one team. And for all that we're going to criticise Everton for not doing well, like, for instance, that our passes weren't joined up at times, the fact that we weren't attacking and decisive, the fact that some of our defence sat off, that we played a high line, it wasn't a recipe for failure. But when you compare all those things, when you combine all those things and then compare it or put it against United, that were quick, that have pinpoint passing over the top, that were playing joined up play, that were also alert to follow through on these balls. So, when you say you get the bounce and all the time, it's because they know where the ball's going to go, because they've got a man that's running in to close it down. I mean, look at Gray being edged out into the corner towards the end of the game when there's 3 United players choosing to come down and there's no Everton man. Because even by the time he gets there, he's forced into putting it out for a throw-in because we just didn't have the speed. And I think it's about. I mean, the Blues has said here it's not always about us. So, Leon, I understand. I'm not saying we knew we wouldn't get. I was just putting that up as a discussion point. And yeah, okay, all right. Sorry, I'm checking these comments. And you are right. But in order for us to get something, we needed to capitalise, be at our best. We needed to score when Sims had that chance. He didn't. We needed to rely on Pickford to make some fantastic saves. He did for the majority of the time. But the frustrating thing is all he takes is a couple of mistakes. As it was, Onana didn't track the run. And Pickford let the ball go in without a save at his near post. And the second goal was Coleman making a slip on the ball, Rashford picking it up and squaring it to Martial, who just had free rein to take a shot. Now, I'm not saying that we were lucky, I'm not saying that United were lucky. What I'm saying is that they're so good compared to us that all it takes is those few mistakes, despite us playing, I wouldn't say very well, but defending not poorly. And the fact is that it was a combination of us constantly being caught out. And okay, so we chased the ball and they made great saves and he pushed them out or put pressure. And all it takes is a few mistakes like that. And United are going to capitalise when it's not like, oh, we've made a mistake, we've got to cover here. It's, oh, we've made a mistake. And that was the last line of defence. Shit. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what you're disagreeing with me, aren't you, Chris?
Just letting you go on, mate. Obviously, we greatly disagree on this topic, and that's fine. That's what this is all about. I think the defending was atrocious, borderline non-existent, and I think that the subsequent argument against the defending being poor was that we were trying to attack, again, is the definition of bad defending, but because it goes hand in hand. But it's fine. It is what it is. Listen, the whole team were poor today, in my opinion. I'm giving United credit for being good. I'm not giving United credit for being united because they had been, again, I think people forget how much they had been struggling lately. They weren't setting the world on fire by any means. Yes, they had a good performance today. We didn't turn up. That's my opinion on it.
But I'd be intrigued to know what instructions Dyche gave to them in terms of that press, because you've got Garner up there basically being a centre forward in the way that he's pressing, and Tarkowski's coming in and he's 20 yards up from the halfway line. And then as soon as you bypass the press, everyone's out of shape. Everton defend best when they're in shape, not when they're ragged and all over the place. And it led to so many chances. I think he'll take note of that and he'll see that,
Gonna change Jeff's name to Malasia for this for the remainder of today. Wind-up merchant at its finest.
Stop dumping my tea in the harbour.
Hey, that happened on my birthday, by the way. So that makes that the second most famous event to ever happen on December 16th, obviously after me. Come on, guys. The next slate of games is about to start, so I'm going to have that on in the background. What will be the fixtures being shown on your end, Jan? Do you know?
Oh, am I doing the watch-along?
Well, I don't know. I don't know who's doing what. I just meant like if those games do bleed over, if you have something in the background, I will have different games on.
Okay, so well, give us a little bit of time.
We'll get to that in a bit. Yeah, no worries. Continue talking about United.
Is it going to be incredibly unprofessional of me to just go, well, I don't want to obviously blatantly and pointlessly swear, but well, meh. And if I just start having a few bevies while we're watching, I promise I'll keep it PG-13.
You act as though I'm the boss of this channel.
Well, you're far more professional. Yeah. Okay. All right. Oh my God, I turned into Matt McConaughey then.
All right.
Okay, I don't know why I'm smiling. I think it's because I've got to this point with Everton.
We have to laugh our way through it.
It's where I've got to with Everton is the game's done. I don't want it to. It's already stressful enough to think that we're in a relegation battle, that we could go down. The fact that I don't, and this applies to everyone, all the Blues watching, anyone who's not an Evertonian, who's being miserable about something that you can have no control over is a choice. And I just want to say that this is, it's a really stressful time, and I'm disappointed in Everton. I'm disappointed because the last game that I went to with my dad, we lost 4-1 at home to Brighton. The game that I listened to in his hospital room, we lost 2-0 at West Ham. We just capitulate, we roll over, and it's frustrating. It's heartbreaking. It genuinely is. But sitting here and allowing it to ruin the rest of my Saturday while it's sunny and I've got some wonderful, I don't want to say friends, I mean colleagues. No.
Congrats. But honestly, congrats to everyone across the pond for realizing once again that the sun does exist. I'm happy for you guys over there.
No, I just...
it's been rough weather. No, I hear you, mate. It's frustrating, but it can't. We are a frustrated bunch, and it just can't ruin the entire weekend. Yeah, we're going to talk about how upset we are. That's the point of this post-match reaction. But life goes on, and so do we, and so do these games. And so we do have to go again, just like Everton go again next weekend, and then we'll be frustrated again. And it's a big old circle of life. I think there's a couple of songs written about this, as a matter of fact.
So, what are we hoping for, Leicester Bournemouth? Do we want a draw? Or...
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care about if a draw puts us in the bottom three temporarily. I don't care. To me, it's a long-term thinking thing, and we need neither team to get 3 points. That would be my preference, at least.
I'm getting some mixed reactions from the comments here. At least I look like Tom Davies. I do have a picture. I used to live near the bombed-out church in town and bumped into him quite a few times. Lovely guy. There's pictures of us side by side, and it's like, oh, am I actually related to him? Yeah. No, I joke as well. Jan, colleagues, these guys are my friends. It just goes to show the quality of friends that I have.
Exactly. That's the issue. It really does require a look in the mirror, if I'm being honest with you. What are we doing to ourselves?
Happy anniversary, Chris. It's not the end of the world. It might feel like it. And we aren't that team anymore. We don't capitulate. That's true. I was still holding out hope with 8 minutes to go that we could score 2 late goals. And there was a chance to do that. Oh, it's the reminder. But, yeah. So, can anyone see Arsenal conceding 5 tomorrow?
Not 5, but I can... I wouldn't be surprised if that game is something like a 3-0 win for Liverpool. I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal won either, but they've struggled so mightily at Anfield over so many years. And we saw what Liverpool did to Man United a few weeks ago. It just that game from a neutral perspective will be a little bit interesting to watch. But while I don't see it being 5, I can see Arsenal going in there and not exactly having their best performance. That's possible.
But I think what's more crucial is Leeds are playing Crystal Palace tomorrow as well. I think that's relevant too.
A lot of games that almost it just makes you sick because that someone will be getting points,
and we won't.
Well, that's the thing. No matter what the results now, the rest of the weekend we will be dropping down the table, and that's the part that's more frustrating than anything, having to care about these other results. And again, I don't have a quote unquote rooting interest at this point in Leicester, Bournemouth, or Leeds and Palace because we don't know what the table will look like in 3 weeks' time or even 2 weeks' time or whatever. But it makes you absolutely sick to your stomach. So,
I mean, is it possible that in any of these games, obviously, I say this tongue in cheek and a joke, I wouldn't wish ill on anyone, and I don't wish harm. I'm not that kind of person. But is it possible that there could be some sort of mass brawl and all the teams around us just erupt into multiple bans and red cards? And I have no idea.
Be fantastic.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it starts with Fulham and West Ham today.
I mean, the Blues doesn't.
Or is that tomorrow? That's tomorrow, whatever the case.
Oh yeah, West Ham is tomorrow. But we can only hope that West Ham's potential fixture congestion works against us, and the more teams that are involved, the lower our, the percentages, and yeah,
agree.
We've played 2 more games than West Ham.
Good old American question. Thank you, Dave. How Jesse Marsch is getting thought about. It's more than thought about, mate. It's pretty much done. It's not officially announced yet, but my guess is that he has relegation scrap experience. As far as that goes, he's 1 for 1 on that front. Much like Frank Lampard, which is why both of them now have, I don't know. I'm obviously talking nonsense right now. But what I will say is that who else is there? As silly as that sounds, and yes, there are managers out there probably better than Jesse Marsch, but who are Leicester realistically going to get? They were never going to get Rafa Benitez for the rest of the season because Rafa Benitez would never sign a contract that doesn't contain at least a 2 to 3 year deal, 2.5 year deal, whatever. That's why I'm more interested in what Jesse Marsch is about to get, what these contract details are, because if you remember, it wasn't more than 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago, whatever the case, that by Southampton wouldn't give him the long-term deal that he required, and that's why he didn't go to Southampton. So now apparently Leicester, if he's going to take that job, either Jesse Marsch has had a change of heart or Leicester are fully prepared to give him a long-term contract, which I think would be ridiculous. But I don't have the answer to that other than Leicester had to get someone in immediately given their position in the table. I guess they think Jesse Marsch is a master motivator in terms of talking and tactics. Don't know where they got that from, but maybe they just really like his accent also. I don't know.
Okay, is it possible to potentially take a positive? No, it's not. I'm going to try and drag a positive from today's match.
Look at this guy, Wesso. Well in, lad.
Oh, Dave's been a guest on the channel quite a few times. He talks sense,
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Go on, Mr. Positivity. I can't wait to see where you're going with this.
By
the way, Fulham and West Ham is now. That is going on now. So I'm going to put that one on. Go on with what you were saying, though.
Davies wasn't bad. I saw that. Go on.
You know, I just love that you had to take a few deep breaths beforehand to make sure that you could physically stomach saying that out loud. But you're actually right.
Yeah. Well, he put himself about, didn't he? He's got a bit of energy, but you know what you're going to get, and that's not a lot.
Put himself about what? Like a granny at the Grafton on a fucking. Sorry.
You don't come to expect a lot from him, do you? These days. I mean, James Garner. Someone who we're quite excited to see play and get a run of games. He comes on. He doesn't really do anything. I mean, I don't know what sort of player he is. Is he just a player that sits at the base of the midfield, gets the ball, and passes it back to the centre back, and then moves on with the game and lets everyone else play? Because I don't see what he offers. I don't really know what type of midfielder he is. Maybe somebody has seen him play for Forest, and
who's that? James Garner.
Yeah.
I think that he has a lot more to offer than what we're seeing, because the role that he's playing is or the role that we've just seen snippets of him in, and that's demanded of him when he comes on to substitute is, I'm not saying that he's going to be a box to box, although he's got that United work ethic that's drilled into them as kids, but it's a very limited and very restrictive position and role that he'll be in, simply because of the players that are around him. And I'm not just talking about in midfield, I'm talking about the entire pitch. That if players don't have the players don't have the freedom, the space, if they're not taken up by having other players overlap and drag players, then the kind of player that he's going to be to run into space or be on the edge of the box or even overlap and get into the box for a cross, we don't have that cohesiveness in the team due to confidence and skill and sort of resplendence. When Everton used to play, oh God, that sounds so nostalgic. Like back in my day, when it used to be Pienaar and Baines and Osman or Gravison or Cahill and Johnson and and we used to we used to just run forward, and before you knew it, it would be like we'd have some sustained possession, and we'd have like 5 or 6 men in the box, and it was just. And now would be like, okay, well, he's got the ball, he's on the edge of the box, and there's no point crossing it in because there's one man who's not even creating space. It's yeah.
This is a wonderful question. I ask myself this multiple times a day. Yet here I am. I don't have an answer.
Okay. I've got an answer for this one. So where the south stand is, like there against the Mersey, right? Where it's going to be like there, it's going to be about 50 yards that way.
Well, the sad thing is, I think Everton lost a lot of their trophies because they don't. I don't think we actually have half the trophies we've won.
Oh, and back in the day when you used to have to give them back, and oh god,
yeah, we don't really have many left. So, yeah. Well, Chris, what did you think of the experiment with Damari Gray and Iwobi's positioning? Then, did you which one do you think worked better? I mean, we played both in the respective positions, didn't we? Each half.
I mean, you're. It's like saying a poor beer is better than a poorer beer. You know, Damari Gray worked a little bit better just because to me, Iwobi just was awful today. But go ahead.
So I'm just saying, when it comes to Gray, I don't want to necessarily slate him. That's not what I'm about here, because obviously, you know, these things can just generally permeate. It's like the butterfly effect. If you start doing that, fans go away, they comment, you know, and viewers, you know, you go away, or we comment something on social media, it creates discontent. And I just want to get behind the team consistently. But the frustrating thing is, goal for Brentford. The frustrating thing is you watch Damari Gray play at times, and I don't know if this will make sense to you, and if it does, and you've worried that it doesn't make sense to everyone watching, please explain it. But he'll play, and it looks like he's very much got his head down as if he's in an office, and he's just like, right, I've got a job to do, rather than I'm playing football, you know. And I want to see. It's just frustrating. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's all like getting into work, do my job. And it's not even like, I don't know how to explain it.
There's two ways to look at that, right? You can, you know, one can say, well, he's acting very businesslike. It's you know, he doesn't want to, how do I put this diplomatically? He's there to do a job. He's all business. He wants to be better than he was before. Even in the last minute, it's head down, focus, etc. But I don't disagree with what you're saying to an extent. I don't hate that. I guess I sort of take it a different way, but I get where you're coming from. Apparently, Ivan Toney has scored for Brentford, by the way. So Brentford take a 1-0 lead. Still playing football, by the way, which I'm okay with at this point because we need him to play football against some of these other sides. So. But it's over Newcastle, so that doesn't affect us.
That's kind of what I said. Okay, so Gray was the only player who was tidy on the ball. Yes, I agree with that. But Dave also counters it. I mean, I'm not trying to be polarized, black and white and dichotomous, and things are nuanced and have multiple. But Dave's also got a point here. He runs down dead ends and doesn't necessarily play the right ball because it seems like he's doing what he thinks he's meant to do, rather than what the situation demands of him. And I think that, in my mind, is a consequence of not being hungry to go, I want to get through. I want to pass the ball to my teammate who's going to pass it through to me because I'm going to make a run into the box. You know, he's good at making a yard and maybe getting a shot or knowing what he should do, but it's so frustrating to... anyway.
Probably because he knows he's the only one who really can finish a chance in the box. Or hit something from the edge of the box and curl it in. You know, he thinks he's got to do it all himself all the time. There's no denying he's got a superb touch and, you know, he can pass it and flick it and all that. But half the time, as you say, it just doesn't go anywhere and he ends up in a blind corner and you know, you'd be lucky if you win a free kick sort of thing. But then there's no one in the box and in open play if he does manufacture anything. So, you know, he needs players around him, doesn't he? He needs quality around him, especially Calvert-Lewin, if he was fit, you know, someone to throw into.
And that ties into it, the Blues. I understand you don't like it, and maybe it's not entirely accurate in the way that I said it. It's not that he just always does that. It's obviously it's because he doesn't have the players running up to chase him. I mean, the number of times we had throw-ins today, this is symptomatic of it.
That goal, by the way, sorry to interrupt. That goal's been chalked off. No goal. VAR's ruled it out 0-0. Go ahead. Sorry, I apologize, Jan. My mistake.
No, it's okay. That it's so frustrating. As the Blues says, the run blind. Is the number of times we have throw-ins, and you think, okay, give it and go, run, chase it down, or get in behind you. You're not going to get caught offside, and you're like, what? Why not? And you just stand there, and it goes back 20 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
As the Blues say, he does often have 2-3 players on him, but there's a genuine reason for that. Is that United know he's the threat. You mark him away from it, the rest of them won't do a lot for you. He's the main threat. Whereas when they come forward, we never have 2-3 players in the corner on one of their players because we've got to mark the whole front line. It just makes
unfortunately,
it easy.
FBN. Sorry, we've got a user here commenting. Unfortunately, FBM, no, we're not about the pointless insults of insulting somebody, and I don't really want to. Sorry.
Yeah, we're sophisticated on this channel, right? Get out of here with that stuff.
Yes.
By the way, I tried to put a couple of these games on in the background, and all it did was destroy my internet. So before we do the watch along in about 15 minutes time, I'm going to get off and restart my computer. Hopefully that will help. But
okay, are we doing player ratings, or I mean, there was a player?
Yeah, I've got them all written down. Everyone but Pickford was shit. So there are my ratings for the day, and you guys can jump in with yours if you like.
Well, Chris did one before. And it's hard to disagree. I mean, Pickford, I'd have said 7. Coleman, 6. Maybe the 5 for the mistake for the goal. Godfrey, awful, came off. Keane.
I thought Keane and Tarky are on equal ground in my opinion. There, that's what I just said. It's the general feel of it. I just said Keane and if I give Keane and Tarkowski a 6, then Onana a 5 or even a 4. Well, I agree. I agree with all of that.
I think Onana and Jay would be 5s. I mean, it was an average performance. They ran around a bit.
Honestly, yeah. Not to. I mean, I'm all jokes aside. If we give Keno and Tarky a 6, honestly, you could put 5s across the board for the rest of the players, and I'd be okay with it. I don't know if anyone who jumped out in any way who jumped out from an attacking perspective.
Who didn't jump out? I mean, McNeil didn't get any change on that side against Wan-Bissaka.
He put in a few, but I don't think he did bad. It was just he was closed down and completely neutralized.
He was just shut out on that side. I think that's why we played a lot down the Iwobi Gray side, especially first half. We did engineer chances that way.
I mean, the fact is, I could point out how early on in the game Godfrey made a very vital tackle to stop United scoring very early. But when United was so on top in the game, it's almost going to make that happen. It's just it's like survivor bias. If you're going to have United make so many chances and be so on top and all over us, and anywhere they go, they're going to run into an Everton player who eventually is going to make a tackle.
Well, I mean, you've got to praise him for that challenge because he sprinted back. The Anthony was miles ahead of him, caught him up and put the challenge in. But at the same time, he was probably at fault for not being in the right position and getting caught out with the ball over the top, which meant he had to chase back. So, he makes his own problems half the time, Godfrey.
Yeah, no, hang on. Let's go back to that one. Our players have to be good for us to win games. Yes, that's brilliant stuff, Jeff. Thanks for jumping in.
Wow.
I'm just kidding, buddy. I love you.
I don't know what to do. I mean, it's winding down now. There's other matches on. We will do we'll probably be back in time for towards the end of the first half. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you want to? Who's doing the watch along?
I'll do. I mean, I don't mind doing it. Of course, I'm as frustrated as anyone else. But we had a lot of fun doing these watch alongs, and the viewers seem to enjoy it. Jeff getting toasted by Chris today, taking no prisoners. I love Jeff. Jeff's my guy. He knows we're just messing around. But I do think today we just had a couple of very, very fair disagreements. But that's okay. Jeff's been watching Everton a lot longer than I have, even though I've put in 15 years of work. Jeff's like, what, at least 70, right?
Oh, wow. And there I was thinking, he's going to make a joke about his glasses so he's not seeing Everton play properly. I don't know. Just appalling.
Jeff's going to just hit me in the face when next time I go overseas. It's going to be great. Then I can go down like Harry Kane and, hopefully Ryan will send him off the channel. It'd be great.
Looks like we've had a goal, but it's not in a match that helps us.
No, it's in the Spurs match.
Goal against Brighton.
Not good
Gary's
for my fantasy
no idea
side,
of what to make of today. Well, Gary, we weren't all that good. United were very good. And I don't think it's fair to call United a team that... Okay, so they did lose 7 against Liverpool. Wait, hang on. Was it 7?
7-0, yeah. I think Liverpool might have just scored again, but I'm not sure. It's being checked.
Essentially, that was Liverpool on top form and United being torn apart, and for some reason, but you can't say, oh well, that's the standard of football that United were at, because they were very sharp. So it's
hey, we might be able to start selling tickets for this if we play our cards right. If you play your cards right.
I'm not getting involved.
They haven't lost a game, United, in I think 24 or 26 home games. So that just underlines the task that was there today.
Anyway, on that note, which is depressing, and
there's a lot of depressing, isn't it?
Yeah,
right
it's not a good day. I hesitate to say that we took a step back given our forced new attacking formation, or whatever you want to call it, our forced new lineup, we'll just say. I hate to say we took a step back. Yes, we played a good United side at Old Trafford, where we haven't won in a long time and they haven't lost in a long time. I'm not going to say it's going to be all down to our home fixtures to keep us up, because I think we've shown in the last few weeks we're able to put an away performance in. Today just wasn't that day. A little bit worried about Onana's injury. I don't know if Coleman's hurt, but I think we see Patterson nonetheless. I'm curious to see what we do at left back next week as well, given the fact that Godfrey was pulled at halftime for Mikalenko. But that's something that we'll cover on our pre-match things during the week, which will probably take place on Thursday, I would guess. But the point being, we have to move on from this. We still have winnable games, especially next week against the Fulham side, who have been struggling and are depleted, both with injuries and the suspension to Mitrovic. So it's one of those where, no, it's not the end of the world. Yes, it's frustrating, but we have a lot of games left to play, very winnable games. So I'm trying to at least keep the faith and a little bit of positivity there. That's my 2 pence at least.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but maybe you shouldn't talk about your tuppence on an English stream.
My what? Stupid Americans. They win everything. Hey, this is a good point, though. If Jake Paul can make that much money, then we could absolutely sell some tickets. Jan's having a laughing attack over here.
It's tuppence is like a very sort of innocent slang for the sort of girls refer to their genitals.
Learns every day's a school day, boys and girls. Don't ever forget that. I'll try and work that into the watch along later.
It's like there's a painkiller. Yes, Dave Weston, Lady Garden. There's a painkiller. We have medicine adverts over in the UK, and they're not listed with like 30 seconds of a woman saying, may cause baldness, impotence, and possibly death. Right. But we have one for Panadol, and their recent ad campaign is Panadol. Release starts here.
Oh, yeah, I saw you post that. That's what that was.
Yeah. I mean...
Brilliant.
Okay. Anyway. God. Go enjoy the Sunshine Blues. Walk the dog. Hug the kids.
And also join us in 10 minutes for a watch-along.
Oh, yeah.
By the way.
And surrender your life to follow Everton. So, on that note, it's goodbye from Chris.
For now, I'll be back here in a few. I will put a brew on. I suggest you do the same. And I don't know who will be joining me, but Hey, who knows? You're going to watch the games anyway, right? You might as well watch them alongside me.
It's goodbye from Basil.
Goodbye, everyone. Not much to say.
And from Jan.
Goodbye. No, thanks for joining us. As always, like, subscribe, share, join a comment, all the usual stuff. Thank you for joining us. And if you do feel that way inclined, if you are not completely giving up on the concept of football on this wonderful Saturday afternoon, I will very shortly just pop the link up for the watch along.
I think there is one.
There is one, but it's on my phone, not on my computer. Give me a second. Is my camera going to go a bit wonky now? The link is as follows. Here it is. Thank you, everyone. The watch along is scheduled to start in about 10 minutes. So we will join you.
And we'll see you then. I'm going to go put a brew on because we need it. Yeah. Maybe I'll put a bevy in the fridge as well.
Going to get his beers out.
Yeah, maybe it's just hard. Maybe it's just hard whiskey and bourbon day. We'll see.
Well, yeah. I can't advocate drinking, but we can say that if you are going to have a bet on today's football, we do encourage you to go to stake.com.
And if you're as positive as we are, usually on these days brings doom and gloom. So if you want to bet on all the teams that we don't want to win, you're either going to be happy regarding Everton or happy regarding your bank account. Up to you.
That is true. So yes, the Aladdin news or the Aladdin news.
West Ham.
Have a lovely time. West Ham,
right, boys and girls. Excellent. We'll cover that. We'll be right back with the watch along. We'll cover all of the scores. And we hope to see you as well. Up the toughies. Next time.